Let me introduce myself. I'm Joe Grizzly, bitch.
I love Joe Grizzly. We are here to continue our Halloween ranked and reviewed series, and we are up to Rob Zombie's Halloween. Let's get to it. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Halloween Ranked and Reviewed. I am your host, TOMYE West, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, ALANNIS Maximus.
Salutation.
Now, before we get into it, leave a like. It would help us out a lot, wouldn't it, ALANNIS?
It would. And it will make me feel good.
Not as good as Raid Shadow Legends, man. Anyways, let's get straight into it with our ranked and reviewed episode for Halloween 2007, also known as Rob Zombie's Halloween. Now, before we get into our thoughts, we're going to get into an overview of this movie. It really annoys me because I had the overview ready to go, and then my window's shut, and it was like, oh, your window's shut because of a problem. If you got one job, computers, keep windows open. All right, overview. Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween. Released 2007 with a rating of 18. So I'm guessing that's 18 in Australia, 18 in Britain, and probably an NC-17 in America. This has an IMDb rating out of a 6 out of 10. And the synopsis goes a little like this. After being committed for 17 years, Michael Myers, now a grown man and still very dangerous, escapes from the mental institution and immediately returns to Haddonfield to find his baby sister, Laurie. Now, this was directed by Rob Zombie. It was written by Rob Zombie, the screenplay. John Carpenter is credited for the 1978 screenplay, as well as Deborah Hill. And this stars Scout Taylor Compton, Malcolm McDowell, Tyler Main, and one name that I have to list off because it just wouldn't be something we could skip over, and that's Danielle Harris. So it's good that she's back. And also Danny Trejo, you've got to talk about him a little bit, This had...
and Sid Haig. Rest in peace.
Yes, definitely. This had a budget of $15 million estimated. The box office result was on opening weekend for US and Canada on September 2nd, 2007, $26.3 million. Gross US and Canada, $58.2 million overall. And gross worldwide, $80.4 million, which I'd say is a pretty sizable return. And this was once known as Halloween Retribution. And yeah, that is the overview for this movie. So, with that overview taken care of, done and dusted, we're going to get onto our thoughts. What did we think? And as tradition dictates, ALANNIS, you take the floor.
This made, in my opinion, something that was, all right, pretty phenomenal. Like, Rob Zombie fixed this movie. It's not just for my love of Rob Zombie. Like, even if I didn't love pretty much everything he did, I would still watch this movie and go, damn, he did it right in the ways it should have been done, in the ways it should have been kind of followed up on to kind of fix some of the mistakes. And he's done it. He's pretty much, I feel he would have felt the same way as us and gone, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to step aside. Let me have a turn.
Definitely. I'm wondering if you got a different cut to me, because the one I'm watching behind, I'm way ahead of you at this moment. And at the start of this, we were at the same points as each other except for like a millisecond out. And I'm wondering if that means that you are watching the director's cut or something like that, and I'm watching the regular cut or something like that. I have no idea. Have a look. He's getting dragged to like, yeah, his mum's just walking in, and in mine, they're already in the office having the doctor arrive with her sitting at the table. You see what I mean? Like, I feel like there was
My
at least,
runtime is just over 2 hours, if that helps.
yeah, I think mine is 1 hour 50 minutes. So you got the director's cut. You watched the director's cut, and I don't know if the director's cut features one of the parts in that mine didn't feature or something, because the rape scene. Did you get the rape scene?
Yes.
Out of this whole movie, that is the one thing that doesn't sit well with me. I don't like it. I think it was unnecessary, and I think that it's something that I'll never warm up to. Like, I just don't like seeing that at all. How do you feel about that as well?
As a concept, I definitely don't like it, but at the same time, in terms of a Michael Myers kind of a way, it developed his character kind of interestingly, and like he was almost kind of, I don't know. It's hard to say how that he kind of ignored it until they touched the mask.
I don't think you're thinking about it in the way that it is probably most likely interpreted, which is that you're saying it shows that he kind of like was standing up for her or whatever, but I don't think that's the case. I think he used it as opportunity.
I think that's the thing. Not so much stood up for them, but he didn't get involved until they started touching the mask.
Yeah.
So it kind of showed that, I don't know, he is just at this point completely detached from humanity, which I think that I kind of understand.
Hey, it looks like our movies are about to sync up again. Have a look. He's leaving the school, and my bully's walking away. And just now, when he runs out of the school, the bully should probably be walking out of the school at the same time. I know. See, like, yeah, there's a lot, like, I think, I'm not sure. Yeah, it's weird. See, we're syncing up a little bit again. So it looks like they're just cut differently. But anyways, continue on with your thoughts. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, it kind of, it was, I don't think unnecessary. It was hard to watch. Like, it's never a great concept to tackle, but I think it did show some interesting elements to Michael in that was kind of gone down that rabbit hole, becoming that inhuman, that one of the most depraved things that can happen just didn't bother him until something affected him. Then he had reacted. Like, the second they start wearing the masks is when he stands up.
Floyd, you're getting into it. Floyd, sorry, man. We didn't mean to talk about the rape scene. Jesus, Yeah, so get into your original thoughts before I cut you off about the rape scene as well.
What was that, sorry?
Get into your original thoughts where you were going until I cut you off about the rape scene as well.
That's where I was kind of going. Like, the way it shows how detached Michael Myers is. That, like, he completely, like, I wouldn't say thought it was okay, but he just didn't care. But when they start putting the masks on, they're messing with him, and that's what made him kill them. Yeah. It was an interesting kind of juxtaposition, I think, of things and who he is as a person.
Yeah, well, that's what I got from this movie, is that's a lot of the criticism that this movie gets, is that they gave Michael Myers too much of a backstory and a reason to why he is the way he is. And the good thing about the first original, like, incarnation of this series was not about any of that. It was just about this kid that was fucked up, and then it turned up to him being this silent killer. You know what I mean? There's not much explanation, whereas this movie gave you a lot of explanation. And I know that's a much hated part about this movie, but I feel like it develops the character. I feel like it sets up the motive a lot more. I feel like it helps that this movie includes the blood relative aspect that the first movie didn't contain. And the other thing I want to say about this movie is, while the second half of this movie is almost a reshot of everything from the first movie, the parts that it isn't just reshots and stuff, or the ideas that are branched out more from the first movie, or taken a different way or done a different way, are all done, like, in my opinion, better, and
Absolutely.
also brings the movie up to a more modern age. Makes the movie less stagnant like the original movie was. I feel like this is the way the first movie should almost have been. And I also think that it's interesting the approach he took by basically making two separate movies in the same movie and having them mold together so well, because that's what he originally apparently intended. Was the first movie was just going to be what you see behind me now, the family problems, young Michael, the mental institution and all that, and the second part was going to be nearly a shot-for-shot remake of Halloween, like we kind of got, except expanded upon more. And while that didn't pan out because studio executives were like, no fucking way we're doing that. Like, people want a Halloween movie that features the real Michael Myers, and we're not releasing a part one where there's no Michael Myers or whatever, you know what I mean? So how do you think this went, being sort of two separate entities combining as one, and how did you think that was handled?
I think it went a lot better than the original. The original tried to set things up and then have a feeling of suspense, but just even if it was made today and done with today's conventions, but still the same sort of attempt, I would still think it was boring. Like, it was half a movie of people I don't care about, where this was compelling. Like, it told an interesting story. You could have missed out the fact that he kills the kid in the bushes. You could miss out that he kills the nurse, that he kills the cleaners, and it could have just been talking after he kills his family. And I think it still would have been interesting. It's not the fact that it's violent and there's more kills that held me. Like, obviously I enjoyed that, but just the way Michael Myers' story was told was a lot more interesting to watch than watching the story of Laurie Strode and her friends.
Yeah, and I agree totally. Some of the things I wanted to point out about the plot, like itself, like the story, was it's amazing how much of a piece of shit everyone in his family is at the start of the movie, except for his mum, Sherry Moon, played by Sherry Moon, who is half decent in the movie. You get that feeling that she's like trapped in this situation with this Ronnie dude. Her daughter's a piece of shit who doesn't seem to care much and is stuck in her teenage ways. And Sherry seems like the only one that's kind of there for Michael to, all that stuff. So she's the only half decent one. Plus, I added on my notes that she's fine in this movie, and that I would like to see more of her stripping if possible. And I love that bit when he's like behind me now and he's sitting at the front of the house and she's stripping to the music and the Love Hurts song's on. I love that. The soundtrack to this movie is awesome. All the 70s bands and stuff like that. Just every song that was picked, I feel like, is perfect for this movie. And with that, when you said he kills that kid in the bushes, I hate to root for murder, but when it comes to killing the lead actor from Spy Kids, I'm all for it.
Is that who that was?
Yes. I also feel like this movie's realistic tone, dirty feel, dark mood, and brutality is heads above the rest of the movies in this franchise.
Yes. I am. Yeah, definitely. It's gritty, and I think that's what it needs.
It is gritty, and that's what I liked, is the blatant, like, brutality that is in your face in this movie. And if you're going to sit through this movie, it's fucking, even for people like us, me and you, it's got bits of it, like, you're like, whoa, like the baseball batting scene where he baseball bats his sister's lover in the kitchen while he's eating a sandwich is like one of my favorite scenes of the whole movie, but also so intense. You know what I mean? Probably one of the most intense kills of the movie, in my opinion, anyway. But one interesting thing is, while this movie is so dirty and gritty and unsettling and has like an R rating and all this, Rob Zombie had to tone back a lot of his ideas originally for this script due to it being way too over the top, even by my standard. That includes Michael Myers sodomizing a female character with a baseball bat 9 times. And instead of luring the bully into the bushes like he did at the start of the movie, luring a little 9-year-old girl into the bushes, killing her, and then urinating on her remains.
Brutal.
Also, he had to scrap the idea of Michael Myers when he was a kid, when he killed his rat at the start of the movie and he's washing his hands in the sink. Originally, he was supposed to be jerking off instead of washing his hands over the rat being dead. So, as far as he took it, like, he wanted to take it further. So, I mean, how do you feel about those things being sort of not greenlit?
I mean, I could have watched them. I've definitely seen worse in horror. I think because it's a major release is maybe why we saw those removed. Yeah, I don't think I would have hated it. I
couldn't have watched the sodomizing of a baseball bat thing with comfortable. I'm not comfortable for that, really, and I'm really not comfortable about someone killing a 9-year-old girl and then urinating on them. I think that's just too far. The jerking off over the mouse thing, like, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, it's a bit weird because he's an underage kid, but apart from that, like, whatever. But I mean, I kind of think that how far it was taken is enough, and I think it was perfect. I don't think it was too over the top. I don't think it was too not tasteful. You know, I thought it was just the right amount. And I think any further, and it would have sort of been more showboating the fact that he wanted to be as gross as possible rather than just telling us a story that happens to be pretty brutal. You know what I mean? That's kind of my rebuttal of why I think it works better having those parts not a part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What else did you like?
One thing I liked that I thought was a very nice touch was the ending, how it kind of paid homage to the ending with was that the boogeyman? And then it has a jump scare where she gets like pulled out the window or whatever, and it continues. I actually forgot about that. And when I was watching it, I'm like, oh yeah, they've ended it the same. Ah, nice. They haven't ended it the same. I like that ending.
Yeah,
the last shot made it feel complete and also not complete. Like it didn't have to be another movie to it.
The last shot, man, of her shooting him in the head and then screaming, and the close up of her screaming, and it kind of just cuts, is fucking awesome, man.
Yeah, it's kind of like you could accept it as a standalone movie, but it also opened it up for another one.
Kind of. I don't understand if she was that close to Michael Myers' head and she shot him straight direct in the head, how he came back. But then again, we've seen him be shot in the eyeballs too, so you can't complain too much. Also, do you get the whole suggestion of, and I find it a bit weird that they wanted to include that Rob Zombie writes about this sort of stuff, is do you get the sort of suggestiveness of Michael being semi-attracted to his older sister and implied incest by the whole touching of her leg and things like that when he's like, or do you take that as like him pretending to be her boyfriend and that's all that it was behind? Because I almost feel like he was trying to go for that whole country hillbilly, everyone sleeps with each other sort of thing that is so cliche. You know what I mean? What did you get from that?
I think there was a bit of a sexual thing to what Michael was doing there, and I think. Yeah, I definitely think that was part of the. I think there was that undertone there that he was kind of.
I don't understand why he needed to write about that sort of stuff, but again, it kind of adds to the whole how messy his family is and how kind of messy he was, like in the head. You know what I mean? So I kind of get it too. It was really good to have a Laurie Strode that I found was actually interesting and fun to watch, and sort of acted like teenagers would. I know that teenagers act different nowadays compared to when the original Halloween was made. I know that in the 70s, late 70s, when Halloween was actually made.
Boy. Sorry, who's licking my pillow?
That's right. I know that when that was made in the 70s, that people acted different. Teenagers acted different. Like, it wasn't the way it is now. But like, still, I still feel like these teenagers are way more relatable, including Laurie Strode, especially in our day and age. How do you feel about that?
I definitely do. Yeah, I think they. I think they actually made the teenagers more interesting as well. As like, they were all pretty dull still, but they were still more interesting. It wasn't just I'm a teenage rebel smoking a joint.
Yeah. Did you like seeing Danielle Harris back?
I did. I didn't actually know it was her. I had no idea that she was in older Halloween movies. But it makes so much sense when you watch any Rob Zombie movie, including this one. He brings in all these kind of old stars from horror movies from around that exact time.
Even
I
even
think
her
it's
mum,
pretty fantastic.
even Laurie Strode's mum in this was from one of the Halloweens previously, I believe. But yeah, it's good to see her back. Jamie Lloyd, obviously, that character. Danielle Harris that's awesome.
I find it interesting that, and I wonder if he did try to approach Jamie Lee Curtis for even a small role. It's not Laurie
I
Strode.
don't think so. I'm going to direct everyone to this. If you want to see a really in-depth look into the making of this movie, go to YouTube, type in Rob Zombie's Halloween doco. And there's one called, hold on, I'm going to quickly type it in. Halloween 2007 doco. So it's called Michael Lives, the making of Rob Zombie's Halloween. And it goes for 4 hours. It shows all the footage from day one of like location scouting, to planning, to interviews, to everything, how it was done. And he was explaining, all the people that he brought back and stuff. And I think he purposely stayed away from Jamie Lee Curtis and all that because he wanted to make it fresh and new and be a new Halloween movie, not just another, oh, here we got her back again and things like that. He approached Danielle Harris because he knew that she was meant to come back for number 6 and things broke down and she was really, really fucking hurt and upset and dirty on the franchise and dirty on the people who owned it and created it. And Rob Zombie felt like he wanted to bring her back and do the right thing by her and give her a part in this movie. And I think that's really cool. From everything I've heard, Rob Zombie is amazing to work with. He's a nice guy. He's down to earth. And he's not one of those dudes that if you walked up to, he'd tell you to fuck off. He would give you the time of day. But he's honestly, apparently very brutal. Brutally honest as well. You know what I mean? So it's good to hear that he brought all these people back that he felt were done wrong by or whatever in the series and wanted to give them more of a shot and be like, hey, you're a part of the family again. You know what I mean? So...
Actually, on the subject of Danielle Harris as well, I didn't notice she'd done so many horror movies. Like, I am IMDb'd her, and she is in a lot of horror.
Yeah, well, that the crazy thing too is that Scout Taylor Compton, she is actually doing a voice in the upcoming Texas Chainsaw Massacre video game. Well, I don't know if it's a voice, could be motion capture as well, but yeah, she's in that. She's got a lot of other movies coming out, but yeah. The casting I find really good in this movie, except I do find a few parts of dialogue a little bit cringy. And I do find, I know you like Malcolm McDowell, and I know he was not bad in this movie as Dr. Loomis. I find him a little cringy in parts, but that's the thing, is that the original Dr. Loomis was cringy in a lot of parts too. So I almost feel like that was what they were leaning towards.
I think he was like that, I think, because he was actually, I think, emulating Donald Pleasance. Like, a lot of the ways he talked and a lot of the things he did, you can tell he was kind of imitating how Donald Pleasance did it, which I thought was a good touch. I think it was a nice homage to that actor, and because he was such a big part of the franchise as well. But
one other thing I wanted to say is the kid playing Michael Myers at the start is fucking awesome. I love him in this movie. I love that portrayal that he kind of like was the outlier at school, but he's wearing a Kiss shirt and he's got the long hair and stuff like that. Like, I love that aspect to it. I love the 70s beginning, and I love the setting of the 70s, and I feel like they really did a good job at making it authentic and feel like a 70s era part. I really love the shot of Michael sitting in the back of the police car when it's panning and everyone's completely still and the lights are flashing, and then it cuts to, like, it gets to Michael and he's sitting in the back seat, and then he stares at the camera and sort of like gives a little smirk, you know what I mean? Like, that's such a creative shot done by the cinematographer, by Rob Zombie and stuff like that. If you look into how they did that shot, literally it's just the whole cut, everyone standing still and the camera panning slow, and everyone had to stay as still as possible, you know, and get Michael to turn and look. It wasn't done with any special effects or anything. It was done fucking really well. Even if you look in the background with the sheet hanging down from the thing, it's the sheet's dead still, like nothing's moving. Like, it's really cool. And that brings me on to my next thing I really like, which is talking about things in the background, like the sheet hanging and everyone in the background being still. The use of the background through this entire movie is fucking awesome, where, you know, you'll see shots of Michael when they're like panning across the hallway, or he's standing behind looking at him through the window or something like that. I really think that Rob Zombie utilized the foreground, the middle ground, and the background really well throughout this entire movie. What do you think?
I do. I haven't noticed the tiny details like that, but now I want to rewatch it. So I noticed them a couple of times, like you'll be in a corridor or whatever, or at a window, but I don't think I noticed it as frequently as you. So I need to watch this again now.
Yeah, there's a lot, man. They do a lot, and that's another thing I really like when Michael enters Annie. Is it Annie's house? Danielle Harris's character, and she's babysitting, and he walks up to where that little girl's watching the TV, and she's watching the exact same movie that he was watching on Halloween the night he killed, and she was up to the part that he was up to, and he hadn't seen that movie the rest of the movie, so he had no intention of hurting her. He was literally just standing there watching the TV to see what would happen next in the movie, and I thought that was a nice little touch, you know. Very cool. One other thing, I think that this movie feels much more like a theatrical Halloween movie compared to any of the other Halloween movies in the series. Almost like a lot of the others feel direct to DVD, even though having theatrical releases. You know what I mean? I feel like this is the pinnacle of what a Halloween movie should feel like, budget, cinema-wise, cinematography, direction. How do you feel about that?
I agree. And I can remember seeing it at the movies and being glad I did. This is, in fact, something that, like, if it played at the Astor or something, I would definitely go and see it there. I'm sure it has. And I'd be keen on checking it out there again.
I'd love to go watch it at a drive-in or something too.
Yeah.
Also, ALANNIS, important question. One of the most important questions of this whole episode. Would you have sex in the abandoned Michael Myers house?
No.
And would you wear glasses like that?
No.
The other thing is, I love that even though in the present day parts of this movie, it still feels like a 70s aesthetic. Like the van that they're in, the hairstyle, the glasses, everything feels sort of still 70s, even though it is up to date. I mean, there's a lot of parts that don't, but the moments that they try to achieve that feel, they nail it, and I feel like it's awesome. I really like that era and how they do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I agree. And I think he really tried to stylize it as if it was made at the same time the first movie was made, which I really like.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think Sheriff Brackett is awesome and probably one of the most likable characters out of the entire movie. How do you feel about that?
I think he's a lot better than the original.
Definitely.
Yeah.
How'd you feel about the pace?
Paced very well. Like it moved. I didn't at any point kind of like start going, Like for a 2-hour movie, it was. I kind of checked the time more frequently in Halloween movies that went for an hour and 20 minutes. This, I
Definitely.
don't think I ever kind of got removed from the movie because of the pace of it.
Definitely, I totally agree. Also, looking at my notes, I love the I'm Joe Grizzly bitch scene, of course. I like how they brought back the sheet over the head with the glasses,
Yes.
and then stabbing him against the wall and tilting his head. And I even find it funny because Michael even seemed a little bit more playful than in the first one by handing her the beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a cool little like throwback, even though people just go, well, you just took it and reshot it. But I think it's, as I said in my point before, yeah, a lot of it's a remake, but it's brought up to modernized standards and feels newer and fresh. So,
And it's different enough that it's not a carbon copy.
no,
It's I think a homage. Like
definitely. And I also really love the part when Laurie is in Michael's house and she's trying to get away and he smashes through the wall and tries to grab her through the wall and chases her through the gate and pulls the gate off. And that's a really, really like thrilling and cool scene. And that also brings me to like one of my final things that I really love about this movie is the kills. They're fun and they're also thrilling at the same time. And that's what I feel like a Halloween movie needs to have rather than off-screen kills or weak kills or kills that don't show exactly how brutal killing someone with a knife like that would actually be.
yeah, absolutely.
Also, what did you think about sort of how Michael plays dumb about not remembering the kills and why he's in there and wants to get out and thinks he's actually going to get out and all that sort of stuff? What did you think about that?
I liked it. I think the kid was an amazing actor as well.
Yeah.
It was just sold.
It's surprising because I don't think I've seen him in anything much more than this.
He's in a couple of things. Like I think, can't put my finger on it, but I've seen him pop up in a couple of things. Going, oh, it's you.
I know he definitely doesn't return for Halloween 2.
Oh,
It's a different kid because by the time Halloween 2 was in production, he was too old and didn't look the same anymore and stuff like that. So, but the kid that they got to play him looks nothing like him anyway. So I don't know. I would have preferred just getting him back, but whatever. Tell me quickly before we get into our trivia and goofs and ranking. What didn't you like about this movie?
There's not
we've talked a lot. We've talked a lot about what we like, and I think except for me, I've said I don't think there's the rape scene should have been in it and things like that. But yeah, you continue.
I don't actually think there's a lot that I can poke a hole in here. Like I really enjoy this movie. I don't think it's necessarily the perfect movie, but I think it's. Especially in comparison to the ones before it, I don't really have any negative noteworthy to say about this. That's probably giving away my ranking. But yeah, I struggled to really criticize it. I think it was done really well.
I agree. And yeah, like I didn't want to spoil it last episodes or whatever, where this lies, but I'm not going to spoil it now either, but I'm sure by the way you've heard us talking about it, it's going to go up there pretty high. So before we get into that though, let's do.
Oh wait, The Mask. What did you think of The Mask? Because I think it was the best.
I actually wrote that down. I think it was the best too. I think it's definitely the best. I'm not going to say it's the best in the series yet because I have to compare it to the Halloween requels that we've got, because I believe those masks are pretty fucking on point too. So it just depends. I do like the whole stitched up looking ragged mask of this though. It's really, really fucking cool. Actually, before we get into our trivia too, what did you think about how Michael was portrayed in this movie behind the mask?
I think it's the best portrayal of Michael. Like some of the things like he still acts like a little kid at points.
Yeah.
Like the kind of way his body language, like when he knifes the guy to the wall, he kind of stands back and goes.
Yeah.
It's like you can tell he's still that little twisted child. He's not a grown man or anything that's still twisted.
Yeah, exactly. All right. With that, let's get into our trivia for this movie. Now, let's hope sometimes this trivia can be a bit of a motherfucker and not interesting. And, it just makes me feel like I want to do this. Like,
Let me introduce myself. I'm Joe Grizzly, bitch.
look, I get it. Not the best transition into that video, but I had to use it again. It'll probably be just as bad as the transition into
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
It never gets old. Never gets old. All right, so let's get straight into our trivia for Halloween, which then will lead into our goofs. So, trivia. Let's have a look. The inclusion of the plotline about Michael Myers' early days at the mental asylum under the care of Sam Loomis is a nod to a plotline added in by John Carpenter for the television viewing of the original Halloween in 1978. As told by Carpenter, when the original film was first sold to television, they demanded adding scenes to replace the edited portions of the murder scene. So Carpenter recalled Donald Pleasance, the original Sam Loomis, to film scenes of him at the hospital taking care of Michael. I've never seen this television cut. I would like to. Tyler Mane is the tallest actor to portray Michael Myers at a height of 6'8". So nearly 7 feet tall. Emma Stone auditioned for the role of Laurie Strode, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Before deciding to go with Rob Zombie's version, the studio was about to greenlight Halloween, The Missing Years, which would have been a prequel set within the Michael Myers early days at the asylum. So it sounds like they kind of got both of that in this movie. In the commentary for the film, Rob Zombie incorrectly states that Jamie Lee Curtis was in her 30s during the original Halloween. She was actually 19 during the production. In an interview, Rob Zombie said he went into the meeting with the Weinsteins with 2 films in mind, one being strictly just Myers in his childhood, then the remake. They shot the idea down. Which is why in the remake the first half of the film focuses on Miles' childhood. So, the movie was not released in the United States on Halloween weekend, as was the original, for the fear of going head to head with Saw 4 in 2007. Instead, it was released months earlier on the last weekend of August in 2007. The actor who sells the guns to Malcolm McDowell's character is none other than the Monkees drummer / singer Mickey Dolenz. Go for 2 or 3 more. The film underwent reshoots as a result of poor test screening. These included a new escape for Michael from the hospital as well as an alternate ending. At 121 minutes, this is the longest Halloween film to date. And director Rob Zombie originally wanted Daniela Harris to play Laurie Strode and Sherry Moon Zombie to play Linda. So, with that, let's get into some goofs. And we probably won't read many if they're going to be on the same par as the last time we tried to do this. So
This guy said something and his mouth didn't move.
yeah, well, great fucking goof. Fuck off. So let's have a look. Yeah. When Dr. Loomis is walking through the graveyard, the collar on his no, it wasn't even worded right. Don't worry, we'll find something good. Dr. Loomis purchased several guns on Halloween night. However, in Illinois, where Haddonfield is set, there is a mandatory 24-hour cool-off period when purchasing a gun, so he would not have been able to purchase the weapons. There are several palm trees seen in the background when Michael Myers spots Laurie for the first time, and when Sheriff Brackett picks up Annie in the squad car. There are no palm trees in Illinois. This is because the film shoot was in Pasadena. This is a plot hole. When Laurie calls the police from Lindsay's house, 1987 Winchester Drive, and gives them that address, yet when the police arrive, they immediately and conveniently go to 1960 Winchester Drive, Tommy's house, where Laurie is now hiding, despite it being on the other side of the street and several houses down. Some minutes later, responding to the same call, Dr. Loomis and Sheriff Brackett correctly arrive at Lindsay's house. When Michael Myers stabs a boy and he is attached to the wall because of the knife is sticking too far out for it to go through his body and into the wall. When the 10-year-old Michael Myers goes to get the knife from the drawer to kill his sister, as he removes it, the knife bends slightly, revealing it to be fake. Dr. Loomis's revolver obviously has empty chambers, and we'll go for 2 more. During their struggle, when Michael kills Laurie's adoptive mother, the phone gets knocked off the hook. Yet when the sheriff calls the house later to inform them of the danger, he gets a ring and answering machine. Can you imagine Michael kills everyone and then hangs the phone up for them? Better put that back.
What a nice guy.
Yeah. After Laurie and Michael fall out the window, she picks up the revolver, and as she pulls the trigger, it clicks on 3 empty chambers. This would not be the case if Dr. Loomis had already fired the gun. Laurie would not hit on the 3 chambers, but on the 3 loaded chambers. Whatever. Wasn't enough for us to even notice. And you know what? I just realized down the bottom I didn't change it from trivia to goofs. So
I actually didn't think about that with the revolver myself. And
that was a goof right there for ourselves right then. Keep going. What were you saying?
Yeah, I thought about that with the revolver myself, but I assumed it was maybe it got knocked around, maybe the barrel spun. Not the barrel, the bullet holdy bit spun.
The chamber.
Yes.
The chamber holdy bit. Cool.
Yes.
So. Oh man, that's fucking. Hey, look, we all can't get everything right every single time, you know?
Yeah.
Let me introduce myself. I'm Joe Grizzly, bitch.
I should say though, bullet holdy bit is a fine name.
It is.
I mean, it holds bullets.
Exactly, and the bullet comes out of the shooty tubey bit.
The death tube.
Yeah. Cool. So with that, we're going to get into our ranking for this movie. And ALANNIS, again, I fucked up this week and deleted the original ranking from last week. So we're just going to have to go straight into our rankings from this week. But all you have to know with this ranking is move all of them down 1 spot because we got a new winner, baby. We have both put Rob Zombie's Halloween 2007 in the number 1 slot. Now, for everyone listening and not watching, this is how the ranking goes. Mine, TOMYE, goes like this. Halloween 2007 at number 1. Halloween H2O at number 2. Halloween 2 at number 3. Halloween 4 at number 4. Halloween at number 5. Halloween 5 at number 6. Halloween Resurrection at number 7. Halloween 6 at number 8. And Halloween 3 right at the bottom at number 9. And ALANNIS goes Halloween 2007 at number 1. Halloween 4 at number 2. Halloween 2 at number 3. Halloween 5 at number 4. Halloween 6 at number 5. Halloween H2O at number 6. Halloween 3 at number 7. And Halloween Resurrection Dead fucking last at number 8. How are you feeling about these rankings so far, ALANNIS?
It's interesting. I think they're very different but very similar at the same time.
Definitely. I think me and you look for exactly the same things as each other in a Halloween movie, but for some reason we just still don't line up. I don't know, man.
Well, it'd be boring if we did, wouldn't it?
Exactly. So, everyone, that is our ranked and reviewed episode for Halloween 2007. Now, coming up on Halloween ranked and reviewed next week, we have Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, which I think is going to be interesting for both of us because I've only watched it once previously. I wasn't a big fan of it before that. Last time I watched it, I thought it was okay, but from memory, I don't think it's got shit on this film. But we'll see what happens, I guess. I can't remember. It's been a little while. And then we are finishing up our Predator ranked and reviewed series this week as well with our final review, and that is Alien vs. Predator Requiem. Make sure you tune in to see the final ranking for that. After Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, we move on to the build-up, the last build-up before we get into Halloween Ends. We've got Halloween 2018 and then Halloween Kills. And the way we've timed it again is a little bit whack, so you're going to get Halloween 2018 the week after next, and then the week after that, you're going to get 2 episodes. Halloween Kills, which will be 2 to 3 days before you get your review for Halloween Ends, which is starting to sound more concerning by the day. But we will see what happens, I guess. And
will it be worse than Halloween Resurrection?
It can't be.
Will it be worse than Halloween 3?
It can't be. So with that, also, actually, we should quickly finish on this. Our new episode of Pop Vultures is up, where we talk our concerns with Halloween Ends. We talk about Scream 6's new location / brutal Ghostface. We talk about James Cameron bringing back 3D apparently and saying it's not dead, even though I'm fucking confused. With Avatar: The Way of the Water. We also talk about Multiverse's Karen, and we also talk a little bit about what's the other thing we talked about was Assassin's Creed Mirage, amongst a few little other things. And what are we going into after Predator, you might want to know? Well, we're going straight into the thing that's only logical to do after Predator / Alien versus Predator, and that's to rank the Alien movies. And of course, we will also be re-ranking the Alien versus Predator movies into this ranking as well, because they are actually Alien movies. So keep your eye out for that. But don't worry, it's not just going to be filled with horror for the next couple of few months. Once we're finished with Halloween, we're going straight back into our video game ranked and reviewed series with the review for Detective Pikachu and the 2 Sonic movies released up until we start doing some newer releases such as Black Adam and whatever. I think Black Adam's before that, but whatever. We'll sort it all out. So there's a lot of content coming your way. How are you feeling about all this, ALANNIS?
I like it. It is exciting.
It is. It very much so is. Yeah, I enjoyed watching this movie. I had a really good time. And yeah, this has been probably my favorite Halloween movie up to date, obviously, by the ranking. And I'm hoping that we can continue this uphill stride because some of these were a slug, they were a slug. So anyway, again, thank you for joining us for Halloween Ranked and Reviewed. I've been your host, as always, TOMYE West, or I could be called Joe Grizzly. And joining me is my co-host, ALANNIS Maximus. And we will, of course, leave you on what we have to leave you on. And that is...
Let me introduce myself. I'm Joe Grizzly, bitch.
See you next review, everyone.